The starship Solace drifted silently through the void of space, its sleek metallic hull reflecting the distant light of an alien sun. Inside, Ji-eun Lee sat at the conference table, her fingers tracing the edge of a datapad. She was calm on the surface, but inside, her thoughts raced. Today was the day humanity's fate would be decided. The Galactic Council had summoned Earth's envoy for a critical vote, one that could either secure humanity's place among the stars or cast them aside as unworthy newcomers. Ji-eun glanced across the room at Hae-sung Park, her trusted aide and closest confidant. He stood by the viewport, his sharp eyes scanning the bustling docking bay outside. Alien diplomats from dozens of species moved about, their forms ranging from towering insectoids to shimmering energy beings. Now, humanity was the youngest member of the council, and Ji-eun knew they were seen as outsiders, upstarts who had risen too quickly for the older civilization's comfort. "They're watching us," Hae-sung murmured, not turning around. "Every move we make." Ji-eun nodded. She had felt the weight of those stares ever since arriving. It wasn't just curiosity, it was suspicion. Humanity's rapid technological advancements had unnerved many of the council members. Some saw potential allies in Earth, while others viewed them as a threat to the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. "Let them watch," Ji-eun replied softly. "We have nothing to hide." Hae-sung turned to face her, his expression grim. "That doesn't mean they won't twist what they see. Be careful out there, Ji-eun. Trust no one." She gave him a small, reassuring smile. "I'll be fine. I just keep an eye on things here." With that, Ji-eun straightened her jacket and stepped into the corridor leading to the council chamber. As she walked, she rehearsed her speech in her mind. She had spent weeks preparing, ensuring every word was measured and precise. Humanity needed this alliance, not just for resources, but for protection. The universe was vast and dangerous, and Earth couldn't face it alone. The council chamber was a massive dome-shaped room filled with holographic displays and hovering platforms where representatives of various species gathered. At the center stood the grand podium, surrounded by glowing symbols representing each member world. Ji-eun took her place behind the human emblem, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. Councillor Kyung-min Choi, a senior member of the council, presided over the session. His stern expression made it clear he held little regard for humanity. Ji-eun had crossed paths with him before, and his disdain was palpable. Still, she refused to let it shake her confidence. When her turn came to speak, Ji-eun stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," she began, "humanity stands before you today not as conquerors, but as partners. We seek to contribute to the prosperity of all species, sharing our knowledge and resources for the greater good." She went on to outline Earth's proposal, a system of mutual aid and defense against cosmic threats like rogue asteroids, black holes, and hostile entities lurking in uncharted regions of space. Her words painted a vision of unity and cooperation, but as she spoke, she noticed subtle shifts in body language among the council members. And whispers spread like ripples across the chamber. When she finished, there was a brief silence before Councillor Choi rose to address the assembly. "While the envoy's words are admirable," he said, his tone dripping with condescension, "we must consider the risks. Humanity's rapid rise has destabilized the galactic order. Their unchecked ambition threatens the very fabric of our society." Ji-eun clenched her fists beneath the podium, forcing herself to remain composed. She had expected resistance, but Choi's accusations stung. Before she could respond, another council member chimed in, echoing similar concerns. The debate grew heated, voices rising as factions clashed over whether humanity should remain part of the council. Hours passed, and finally the moment of truth arrived. The council prepared to cast their votes. Ji-eun watched anxiously as the results appeared on the central display. Her heart sank when she saw the verdict. Humanity's membership was revoked, and worse, A motion had been passed to eliminate her as a threat to galactic stability. Shock rippled through her, followed swiftly by anger. How could they do this? She had come in good faith, offering peace and collaboration, only to be met with betrayal. Before the council enforcers could act, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Chaos erupted as security forces stormed in, weapons drawn. Ji-Yun barely had time to react before Hae-sung's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Ji-Yun, we've got trouble. Someone leaked classified information about Earth's Annihilation protocol. We need to get you out of there." Her blood ran cold. And the Annihilation protocol was Earth's most closely guarded secret. A fail-safe weapon designed to destroy entire star systems if humanity faced extinction. If the Council knew about it, they would see it as proof of humanity's aggression. "Understood," Ji-Yun whispered, slipping away from the podium as confusion reigned. She ducked into a maintenance corridor, her mind racing. Who had betrayed them? And how much did the Council know? Back aboard the Solace, Hae-sung frantically worked at a console, decrypting intercepted transmissions. "It's coming from inside the delegation," he muttered. "Someone close to us sold us out." Ji-Yun joined him, her jaw tightening. "Find them. We can't afford another mistake." As the ship detached from the station and jumped to hyperspace, Ji-Yun sent a final message to Earth. And her voice trembled slightly as she recorded it, knowing the gravity of what she was about to say. "To the people of Earth, this is Envoy Ji-Eun Lee. The Galactic Council has declared us expendable. Prepare for the worst. Activate Protocol Omega." With those words, she sealed humanity's destiny. War was coming, and Earth would fight, not for conquest but for survival. Earth was no longer the vibrant blue-green jewel it once had been. The skies above its cities were filled with ash-gray clouds, remnants of hastily erected atmospheric shields designed to protect against orbital bombardment. News of Ji-Eun Lee's failed mission at the Galactic Council had spread like wildfire, plunging humanity into a state of martial law. Streets were patrolled by armed soldiers, and citizens huddled indoors, glued to broadcasts announcing grim updates about alien fleets mobilizing toward Earth. Commander Soo-Jin Kang stood in the command center of Earth's primary military base, her sharp eyes scanning rows of monitors displaying real-time data from reconnaissance drones scattered across the solar system. She was a woman of few words but immense resolve, her presence commanding respect even among seasoned officers. Behind her, technicians worked tirelessly, their fingers flying over keyboards as they tracked the movements of enemy ships. "The Council isn't wasting time," one officer reported, his voice tight with anxiety. "Their advanced fleet will reach Earth's orbit within 72 hours. Soo-Jin nodded grimly. "Then we don't have a moment to lose. Activate Protocol Omega immediately." Dr. Min-seok Yoon, the chief scientist behind Earth's doomsday weapon, stepped forward. His usually calm demeanor was marred by visible unease. "Commander, are you certain this is wise? The Annihilation Protocol wasn't meant for preemptive strikes. It could destabilize entire star systems." "We don't have a choice," Soo-Jin replied firmly. "If we wait for them to strike first, billions will die. Humanity's survival depends on us making the first move." Min-seok hesitated, but ultimately nodded. He understood the stakes, even if he didn't agree with the decision. Returning to his lab, he began overseeing the activation process. Massive drones, each equipped with quantum destabilizers capable of collapsing stars, were prepped for deployment. The sight of these machines sent shivers down the spines of everyone involved. They were weapons of last resort, tools of annihilation that could reshape the galaxy itself. Meanwhile, aboard the Solace, Ji-Eun and Hae-sung worked feverishly to uncover the identity of the traitor who had leaked classified information about the Annihilation Protocol. Their search led them to encrypted files buried deep within Earth's diplomatic archives. As Hae-sung decrypted layer after layer of security protocols, Ji-Eun paced the narrow confines of the ship's communications room, her mind racing. "It's someone high up," Hae-sung muttered, frustration evident in his voice. They knew exactly how to frame us without leaving a trace. Ji-un stopped pacing and leaned over his shoulder, studying the fragmented data on the screen. "What about this?" she asked, pointing to a string of code embedded within the file metadata. It looks like a signature." Hae-sung zoomed in, his brow furrowing as realization dawned. "That's not just any signature. It belongs to Counselor Kyungmin Choi. But how—" Before he could finish, an alert flashed across the console. A transmission had come through from an unknown source. Ji-un activated it cautiously, revealing a shadowy figure cloaked in darkness. The voice that followed sent chills down her spine. "You've made a grave mistake, Envoy Lee," the figure intoned, its tone cold and calculating. "Your species' defiance will only hasten its demise." "Who are you?" Ji-un demanded, though she already suspected the answer. The figure chuckled softly. "We are the Eclipse Syndicate, the true power behind the Galactic Council. You may have exposed our hand today, but rest assured, humanity will fall. Your so-called Annihilation protocol cannot save you." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Ji-un and Hae-sung in stunned silence. The implications were clear. The betrayal ran deeper than they had imagined. The Eclipse Syndicate was orchestrating the war, using the Council as a puppet to eliminate humanity. "We need to warn Earth," Ji-un said finally, breaking the silence. "If they know about the Syndicate, maybe they can find a way to fight back." Hae-sung nodded, already typing furiously. "I'll send everything we have directly to Commander Kang. If anyone can use this intel, it's her." Back on Earth, Soo-jin received Ji-un's transmission moments before launching the first wave of drones. Her expression hardened as she reviewed the evidence of the Eclipse Syndicate's involvement. For years, the humanity had believed the Council acted independently, but now it was clear they were pawns in a much larger game. "This changes nothing," Soo-jin declared, addressing her staff. "Our priority remains protecting Earth. Deploy the drones as planned, but target only enemy vessels. We won't give them the satisfaction of proving their propaganda true." As the drones launched into space, Min-seok watched from the observation deck, his heart heavy with guilt. He had dedicated his life to science, hoping to bring peace and progress to humanity. Now his creations were being used as instruments of destruction. Yet he couldn't deny the necessity of their actions. Without the drones, Earth would be defenseless. Hours later, reports came in confirming the success of the initial strike. Several key enemy ships had been disabled, and throwing the alien fleet into disarray. However, the victory was short-lived. Reinforcements were en route, and Earth's forces were stretched thin. Even with the drones, they couldn't hold out indefinitely. In the midst of the chaos, Ji-un transmitted coordinates for a hidden asteroid base where surviving human ships could regroup if Earth fell. It was a contingency plan she hoped would never be needed, but one she knew might save what remained of humanity. As night fell over Earth, Soo-jin stood alone on the observation deck, gazing at the distant stars. She thought of Ji-un and Hae-sung, still out there somewhere, fighting for humanity's future. Despite the overwhelming odds, she refused to give up hope. "We've faced extinction before," she whispered to herself, "and we've always found a way to survive." With renewed determination, she turned back to the command center, ready to lead Earth's resistance until her last breath. The asteroid base was a jagged, desolate rock floating in the farthest reaches of the Milky Way. Hidden within its craggy surface was a sprawling network of tunnels and hangars, home to Earth's last remaining fleet. The rebels who had gathered here called it Haven, though there was little comfort to be found in its cold, metallic corridors. Ji-un Lee and Hae-sung Park arrived aboard the Solace, their ship battered but still operational after evading countless patrols along the way. As they disembarked, they were greeted by Captain Yoon Ji-song, the leader of the rebel forces stationed at Haven. She was a tall, imposing figure with sharp features and an even sharper gaze. Her reputation for tactical brilliance preceded her, and Ji-un felt a flicker of hope upon meeting her. If anyone could turn the tide of this war, it was Yunji. "Welcome to the edge of nowhere," Yunji said dryly, shaking Ji-un's hand. "You're lucky to have made it this far." "We didn't come here for luck," Ji-un replied firmly. "We came to fight." Yunji nodded, impressed by the envoy's determination. "Good, because we're running out of time. The Eclipse Syndicate has been rallying support across the galaxy. Their propaganda machine is relentless." Ji-un handed over the data she and Hae-sung had collected, detailing the Syndicate's plans and operations. Yunji studied it carefully, her expression growing darker with each passing moment. "If this is true, then we need to strike back, and fast. They're trying to paint us as aggressors. I'm framing Earth for starting this war." "That's why we need to expose them," Ji-un said. "Show the galaxy the truth about the Syndicate. If we can turn the Council against them, we might stand a chance." Yunji agreed, but she knew it wouldn't be easy. The rebels were outnumbered and outgunned, their resources dwindling with every passing day. Still, they couldn't afford to sit idle. With Ji-un's intel, they devised a daring plan: raid one of the Syndicate's supply depots located near the outer rim of the Council's territory. Success would not only secure vital resources for the rebels, but also deal a blow to the Syndicate's operations. Leading the mission was Lieutenant Jae-hyun Kim, a young pilot whose reckless bravery often bordered on recklessness. Despite his flaws, he was fiercely loyal and eager to prove himself. As he suited up for the raid, his hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from excitement. This was his chance to make a difference. "Remember the objective," Yunji reminded him sternly before he boarded his fighter. "Disable the depot, retrieve what we need, and get out. No heroics." "Yes, ma'am," Jae-hyun replied with a confident grin, though his eyes betrayed a hint of defiance. The raid began under the cover of darkness, the rebel ships slipping through the Syndicate's defenses like shadows. Jae-hyun led the charge, his fighter weaving expertly through enemy fire. Explosions lit up the void as the rebels disabled turrets and breached the depot's outer shields. Inside, they found crates upon crates of weapons, fuel cells, and advanced technology, resources that could keep the rebellion alive for months. But as Jae-hyun prepared to retreat, he spotted a group of Council enforcers attempting to flee with critical data drives. Ignoring Eunji's orders, he broke formation and pursued them, determined to prevent the information from falling into enemy hands. His fighter unleashed a barrage of missiles, destroying the enforcer's transport ship but leaving him vulnerable to counterattacks. "Lieutenant Kim, fall back." Yunji's voice crackled over the comms, sharp with urgency. "I'm fine," Jae-hyun shot back, dodging incoming fire. He managed to retrieve the data drives just as his ship took heavy damage. Smoke filled the cockpit and alarms blared, but he refused to give up. With sheer willpower, he guided his crippled fighter back to the extraction point, where the rest of the team was waiting. When he finally landed, Yunji stormed onto the hangar deck, her face a mask of fury. "What part of no heroics did you not understand?" she demanded, grabbing him by the collar. "I got the job done, didn't I?" Jae-hyun retorted, though his voice wavered slightly. For all his bravado, he knew he had crossed a line. Yunji released him with a growl. "Next time, don't let your ego get people killed." Despite his insubordination, the raid was a success. The rebels returned to Haven with enough supplies to bolster their defenses significantly. More importantly, the data drives contained valuable intelligence about the Eclipse Syndicate's inner workings, including evidence of their manipulation of the Galactic Council. Dr. Min-seok-yoon, who had joined the rebels after defecting from Earth's government, immediately set to work analyzing the data, and his goal was twofold: expose the Syndicate's crimes and modify the Annihilation protocol to minimize collateral damage. He believed that targeting specific enemy vessels rather than entire star systems would demonstrate humanity's restraint and moral superiority. Every life matters, Min Seok told Ji-un as they reviewed the modifications together. Even if the galaxy sees us as monsters, we must act with honor. Ji-un nodded, grateful for his perspective. She had spent so much time focused on survival that she sometimes forgot the importance of principles. Min Seok's dedication reminded her why they were fighting in the first place, not just to live, but to preserve the values that defined humanity. As preparations for the next phase of the rebellion continued, Ji-un received word that the Eclipse Syndicate intended to frame Earth for launching the initial attack. Using falsified records and manipulated footage, they planned to present humanity as the aggressors during an upcoming council summit. Ji-un realized they needed to intercept the summit broadcast and reveal the truth directly to the galaxy. "We'll need to hack into their communications network," Hai-sung explained, already sketching out a plan. "It won't be easy, but if we succeed, we can expose the syndicate once and for all." Yoonji approved the plan, though she warned Ji-un of the risks involved. "This could be our only shot. If it fails, the galaxy will turn against us completely." Ji-un understood the stakes, but she also knew they had no other choice. Humanity's survival depended on more than weapons and strategies. It depended on trust. And trust could only be earned by showing the galaxy the truth. With renewed resolve, the rebels prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of the entire galaxy. The rebels gathered aboard the Solace, their faces etched with determination as they prepared for the most critical mission of their lives. Ji-un Lee stood at the center of the briefing room, her calm demeanor masking the storm of emotions raging within her. She had spent countless nights planning this operation, knowing it was humanity's last chance to turn the tide of the war. "We strike near Proxima Centauri," Captain Yoon Ji-song announced. I'm pointing to a holographic map projected above the table. "It's where the Council's main fleet is assembling before launching their final assault on Earth. Our goal is to disable as many ships as possible while broadcasting the truth about the Eclipse Syndicate." Lieutenant Jae-hyun Kim leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "And if we fail? Then we die fighting," Yoonji replied bluntly. "But failure isn't an option. Humanity's survival depends on us." Ji-un glanced at Hae-sung Park, who nodded silently. He had spent days refining the plan to hack into the Council's communications network, ensuring they could expose the syndicate during the heat of battle. The stakes were unimaginably high, but there was no turning back now. As the rebel fleet approached the designated coordinates, tension filled the air, and pilots checked their instruments, engineers monitored ship systems, and soldiers readied themselves for combat. On the bridge of the Solace, Ji-un watched the stars through the viewport, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. When the rebels emerged from hyperspace, chaos erupted almost instantly. Enemy ships swarmed like insects, their weapons blazing as they engaged the smaller rebel force. Despite being outnumbered, the rebels fought with unmatched ferocity, their resolve fueled by the knowledge that this was their only chance to save Earth. Jae-hyun led the charge, his fighter darting between enemy vessels with breathtaking precision. He fired missile after missile, disabling turrets and creating openings for the rest of the fleet to exploit. His bravery inspired those around him, even as explosions rocked the battlefield and debris filled the void. "Stay focused!" Yoonji's voice crackled over the comms, cutting through the noise of battle. "We're not here to win. We're here to survive long enough to broadcast the message." Back aboard the Solace, Hae-sung worked furiously to breach the Council's encrypted network. Sweat dripped from his brow as lines of code scrolled across his screen, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, he let out a triumphant shout. "I'm in! Start the transmission!" Ji-un stepped onto the bridge, her heart pounding as she activated the holoprojector. Her image appeared on screens throughout the galaxy, transmitted directly to every council member and their fleets. The battlefield fell eerily silent as all eyes turned to her. "People of the galaxy," Ji-yeon began, and her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding her. "What you have been told about humanity is a lie. The Galactic Council has been manipulated by the Eclipse Syndicate, a shadowy organization seeking to maintain dominance over lesser species. They framed Earth for starting this war, hoping to rally the galaxy against us." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "We are not aggressors. We are survivors, fighting to protect our home and our future. The evidence I present today proves the Syndicate's crimes. Watch closely and see the truth for yourselves." Hae-sung played the intercepted transmissions and decrypted files, exposing the Syndicate's role in orchestrating the conflict. Council members exchanged stunned glances as the truth unfolded before them. Some looked horrified, others furious. But all were forced to confront the reality of the situation. Amid the revelations, the tide of the battle began to shift. Several council ships broke formation, unwilling to fight for a cause built on lies. But the Eclipse Syndicate wasn't ready to surrender. Reinforcements arrived in the form of massive dreadnoughts armed with devastating weaponry. The rebels found themselves surrounded, their chances of survival dwindling rapidly. "We can't hold them off much longer," Yoon-ji shouted, her voice strained. "Ji-yoon, we need to activate the modified Annihilation protocol now." Ji-yoon hesitated, torn between morality and necessity. Activating the protocol meant sacrificing part of the galaxy to save Earth, but it also meant destroying any hope of reconciliation. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath before making her decision. "I do it," she whispered. "Target the nearest star. Create a barrier to stop their advance." Min Seok-yoon, stationed aboard another rebel ship, initiated the sequence. The drones carrying the quantum destabilizers launched toward the designated star, their payloads primed for detonation. As they reached their target, a blinding flash illuminated the battlefield. The star collapsed into itself, forming a dense black hole that swallowed nearby enemy ships whole. The rebels used the distraction to retreat, their damaged vessels limping back toward haven. Behind them, the black hole acted as a natural blockade, preventing further pursuit. Though victorious in stalling the Council's forces, the cost of the battle weighed heavily on everyone involved. Back aboard the Solace, silence reigned as the rebels processed what had happened. Ma Jae-hyun sat slumped in his cockpit, exhaustion etched into his young face. He had fought valiantly, but the scars of war ran deep. Nearby, Min Seok stared at the void outside his viewport, haunted by the destruction he had helped unleash. Ji-yeon joined Yoon-ji on the bridge, her expression grim. "Did we do the right thing?" she asked quietly. Yoon-ji sighed, leaning against the railing. "There's no such thing as right in war. All we can do is keep moving forward and hope someday the galaxy will forgive us." As the Solace disappeared into the depths of space, the rebels knew the fight was far from over. But for the first time, there was a glimmer of hope, a chance to rebuild and reclaim their place among the stars. 1 year had passed since the battle near Proxima Centauri. The galaxy was still recovering from the shockwaves of that fateful day. The collapse of a star, the exposure of the Eclipse Syndicate's crimes, and humanity's desperate fight for survival. Earth itself bore scars from the war, its cities rebuilt but forever marked by the conflict. Yet amidst the ruins, there was a sense of cautious optimism. Humanity had not only survived, but earned respect among the stars. Ji-yeon Lee stood on a hill overlooking Seoul, her hometown. The city skyline sparkled under the setting sun, a testament to humanity's resilience. She had returned home after months of diplomatic negotiations, rebuilding alliances and working tirelessly to ensure peace. It hadn't been easy. Many species still harbored distrust toward humans, viewing them as unpredictable and dangerous. but Ji-eun refused to give up. And her voice had become a bridge between worlds, a reminder that even in darkness, trust could be rebuilt. Behind her, Hae-sung Park approached, his steps quiet but deliberate. He carried a datapad in one hand, its screen glowing faintly in the twilight. "You've done well," he said softly, handing her the device. "The council has agreed to reforms. The syndicate's influence is gone." Ji-eun took the datapad, scanning the official declaration. Tears welled in her eyes as she read the words confirming the dissolution of the Eclipse Syndicate and the implementation of new measures to prevent such betrayals in the future. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel a glimmer of pride. They had fought, and they had won. "Not just me," Ji-eun replied, turning to face him. "All of us. Everyone who believed in a better future." Hae-sung nodded, his expression softening. "It's strange, isn't it? After everything we've been through, I almost forgot what peace feels like." They stood together in silence, watching the last rays of sunlight fade into night. Stars began to twinkle above, their light a comforting reminder of the vastness of the universe and humanity's place within it. Elsewhere, Captain Yoon Ji-song oversaw the reconstruction of Haven, now repurposed as a hub for interstellar cooperation. What had once been a hidden rebel base was now a symbol of unity, hosting representatives from across the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species docked daily, bringing supplies, knowledge, and goodwill. Yoon-ji walked through the bustling corridors, her presence commanding respect, but also inspiring admiration. And she had become a legend, her name synonymous with courage and leadership. In the science wing, Dr. Min-seok-yoon worked alongside alien researchers, sharing Earth's technological advancements while learning from others. The Annihilation protocol remained active but locked away, a relic of darker times. Min-seok's focus had shifted to peaceful applications of quantum technology, aiming to heal rather than harm. His efforts had already led to breakthroughs in energy production and medical treatments, earning him recognition as a visionary scientist. Back on Earth, Commander Soo-jin Kang retired from military service, though her legacy lived on. She had overseen the transition from wartime governance to peacetime leadership, ensuring that humanity's newfound strength was used responsibly. Her final act as commander was to establish a memorial honoring those who had sacrificed their lives during the war. Among the names inscribed were Lieutenant Jae-hyun Kim and countless others whose bravery had turned the tide of battle. Ji-eun visited the memorial often, placing flowers at the base of the monument. Each visit reminded her of the cost of freedom and the responsibility that came with it. One evening, as she stood before the memorial, a young boy approached her, his wide eyes filled with curiosity. "Are you Ji-eun Lee?" he asked, clutching a small model spaceship in his hands. She knelt down to meet his gaze, smiling gently. "Yes, I am. And who might you be?" "I'm Min-jun," the boy replied proudly. "My dad says you saved the galaxy." Ji-eun chuckled softly, touched by his innocence. "I didn't do it alone. Many people work together to make things better." Min-jun nodded solemnly, then held out the toy spaceship. "This is for you. It's my favorite." Touched by the gesture, Ji-eun accepted the gift, her heart swelling with gratitude. In that moment, she realized the true victory wasn't just surviving the war, it was inspiring the next generation to dream of a brighter future. As weeks turned into months, the galaxy slowly healed. Trade routes reopened, cultural exchanges flourished, and joint expeditions ventured into uncharted regions of space. Humanity's rapid rise no longer sparked fear, but admiration. Earth had proven itself not as a threat, but as a partner worthy of trust. On a quiet evening, Ji-eun found herself back on the hill overlooking Seoul. The stars above seemed brighter now, their light unobscured by ash or smoke. She thought of all they had lost, and all they had gained. Though the road ahead would undoubtedly have challenges, she felt confident in humanity's ability to face them. "We're not alone anymore," Ji-eun whispered to herself, gazing at the heavens. "And we never will be again." With those words, she turned and walked back toward the city, ready to embrace whatever the future held.